Hi, guys, the professor here, and today we're going to talk about trying to please your parents. In particular, trying to please your parents as an adult, seeking their approval. Um, I was guilty of this myself for many years. My parents were older when I was born. They grew up through the Great Depression, World War II, and they were a tough pair. They didn't think anything like I thought. Um, it was very, very tough growing up in the household that I grew up in. My parents had money, but they acted like they didn't. I always attributed this to growing up poor through the Depression, through the war, um, and they held on to every last penny they ever made all their lives. They did not live well because of this. If you know, if they wanted to, they could have lived in a beautiful house with beautiful things and driven new cars, but they didn't. Uh, we lived in an old 100-year-old house. It was a nice house. It was nothing spectacular. It was made out of what they call weatherboard. Anybody my age knows what weatherboard is. There was another not so nice name for it back in the day, which you'd probably go to jail for saying nowadays. Never bought new cars, always bought used. And when they died, um, they basically died millionaires. Uh, I settled the estate, and I knew they had money. I didn't know how much money they had until I settled the estate. And yeah, I was simply amazed. It made me sad that they lived the way they did when they wouldn't have had to. But I digress. I kind of got sidetracked. Um, and the reason is, I mentioned the money thing. They never approved of anything I did except a house I bought when I was in my mid 20s. And the only reason they approved of that is it was a house that they liked in a neighborhood they liked. And it's a house that, had they been willing to spend money, they would have bought. And it tickled them, kind of, that I bought this house. They commented that, if we ever bought a house, this is where we would buy a house, and we would have bought a house like this. But any other expenditure I ever made, my dad died at 85, and my dad's wife, my mother, died at 88. Never approved of a dollar I spent. I worked hard, I made good money, and I spent money. I bought many new vehicles. I bought motorcycles. I bought snowmobiles, um, boat, camper, you name it, I bought it. I I lived well, and I played hard, worked hard, played hard, and they always shook their heads. Uh, it it didn't matter what I did. The car or truck that I bought was never good enough. Uh, the the carpet I put in my house wasn't good enough. The gun that I bought to hunt with wasn't good enough. Garden tractor to mow the grass wasn't good enough. Stove or refrigerator appliances I bought, not good enough. TV, not good enough. I mean, you fill in the blank. Anything I did, anywhere I went, uh, everything was frowned upon. They didn't understand it. They didn't approve of it. Not good enough. Um, I searched for their approval all my life. Uh, Sometimes knowingly, sometimes unknowingly. Uh, Sometimes I even went out of my way. Funny story. My dad and I liked guns. We had a lot of guns. We hunted. Uh, I could get my dad to buy a gun by buying a gun myself. Uh, let's say 12 gauge shotgun. I could go buy a 12 gauge shotgun, and I thought I did something great. I liked it, good brand, good gun, all that. And I could take it and show it to him today and say, Dad, look at this shotgun I bought. And I would be all tickled and proud of myself. And he'd look at it and say, well, this thing's a piece of shit. You should have bought a this instead of a that. Barrel's too long, too heavy, wrong color, whatever. And I would leave disappointed and say, well, I knew that was coming. But I also knew within a week he would show up at my house with a 12 gauge shotgun. And, he would come charging in and hand me this thing and say, look at this. Now this is a shotgun. And he would go on to explain, why it was so much better and, all this and that. And then he would take off down the road, and, I would feel even worse than I felt before that. My mother, uh, you know, total different situation. Uh, she wouldn't spend money uh, to prove that I had done something wrong or not show me approval. She would, just show it in different ways. Hang her head and kind of look up from under her eyelids at me and express her disapproval. And uh, I want to say I probably just gave up and made a joke of it from the time I was 40 years old on. I just gave up because it takes you a while, but you learn that you're never going to get their approval. Now, why I mention this is I have an acquaintance right now. She's 58 years old, and she's basically in the same boat that I was. Her father and mother are divorced. Her father's a normal guy. He's a good guy. And I have never seen him act like he's not proud of her, say anything to show he's not proud of her, or do anything that indicates any sign of a disapproval on his part of her. Now, the mother is a different story. She's a unique individual. The woman's got issues, and it wouldn't matter what this woman did, the mother would never, ever approve. And, this is a sad to watch thing because at 58 years old, her daughter goes way out of her way, physically, mentally, and monetarily, looking for her mother's approval. And it just doesn't come. Very, very tough to watch. It's recently the mother's birthday. Anytime the mother's going to show up. It involves hours upon hours of cleaning a house that doesn't need cleaned, so that the mother could put on a white glove and run her finger over the top of anything or under anything or in a cabinet or look in the oven and see a reflection or anything like that. Just a absolute ridiculous cleaning frenzy, because my mother can't come in and see the house dirty. If she sees a dust bunny, she'll call her sister and tell her I live like a pig. Cleans the cabinets out and rearranges the spices, so that this old woman can't look in the cabinet and say your cabinet's not organized. I mean, it just goes on and on. This stuff you wouldn't even believe. The yard has to be perfect. Pull all the weeds if there are any. Go mow the grass. Go out of your way to make the yard look nice. And it wouldn't matter if she'd spend 4 hours, 40 hours, or 400 hours preparing for this woman to show up. It's all for nothing. And, it really doesn't matter. And, this is a subject that I've tried to approach several times. And it just doesn't, the conversation doesn't go well. But, there comes a time in your life, hopefully sooner than not later, that you just give up when you realize that you have parents or a parent that no matter what you do, you don't get their approval. You can't spend your whole life, young life, middle age, or even older age, seeking the approval of a parent that is just never, for whatever reason, going to give it. I have my own thoughts on this, which I won't share, but you can't. And if you're a child, older adult, or whatever, watching me today, I hope you think about this. If you're one of the people I'm talking about, or you're in this situation where you're trying to get your parents' approval and you can't. And if you're the parent who's doing this to your child, well, shame on you. I hope you consider that, you may be one of the people I'm talking about. You may be part of the problem. You may be the one that makes your child feel small, inferior, even depressed, because all they want your approval. I mean, that's all any kid wants is their parents' approval, and when they don't get it, it has a profound effect on them. They may say it doesn't bother them if it's discussed, but trust me, it bothers them. I don't know any kid that it wouldn't bother that the parents don't think, that they're doing well in life, the right thing in life, or, something they approve of. So parents, lighten up. Kids, young adults, older adults, there comes a time when you just have to admit that no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, I am just never going to get the approval that I'm looking for from my parents. There's nothing wrong with me. Everybody else sees me in a good light. But for whatever reason, I'm never going to get the approval of my parents, so I might as well just quit trying and live the best life I can live.